Hey everybody, it's Norm from Tested.
And it's Jeremy from Tested.
We got something special for you today. This morning, Jeremy and I and Kishore were actually able to test the Nintendo Labo.
That's right. Now, we don't usually cover a whole lot of video games on Tested, but this one is a little bit different.
Nintendo is releasing for its Switch console later this year on April 20th, this maker kit. It's these games, but also to accompany the games, accessories that you build yourselves out of cardboard, which we all know is the gateway drug to making.
There's these two kits. There's the variety kit and there's the robot kit. The variety kit is 5 different kits and the robot kit is a single big one.
And at this preview event, we were able to go and you were able to bring your kid too.
Mm-hmm. And so was Kishore.
So we have some hands-on impressions from adults and kids coming up. Why don't you take a look at what we played? Always be knolling, even with cardboard.
Are you knowing?
Yes.
I wasn't expecting something that would be this long of a build, and I'm pleasantly surprised by that.
Reinforcement. Oh. Right now we're building our second toy con, I guess they're called, and this one's the fishing rod. It actually came in 5 sheets of that cardboard, and we're only on our 4th sheet right now, I think. It's a lot of pieces, pretty structurally sound. They're nice, robust pieces. They don't feel like they're gonna fall apart, and even the telescoping action is pretty good. And we're not even done yet.
All right, so why don't we start with the variety kit?
Sure.
Right, because that was the one that we actually got to build a couple of the kits from.
We built 2 of the kits, the RC car, which is I think the simplest thing.
Yeah.
And then also part of the fishing rod kit. We didn't even have enough time to finish the whole thing.
No, the RC car kit was pretty simple, but that took about 20 minutes. The fishing rod, I think we probably got about halfway through in 30 to 40 minutes.
Right, so these, you're gonna get like 3 to 4 hours of total building out of this.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even tackle the keyboard or the go-kart, the motorcycle, or the house thing.
Not the build process. So I was surprised just from the build process by how rugged they felt. Like when I saw the videos of the Labo initially, I thought cardboard, that looks cool, that looks maybe cheap to produce and easy to build, but it's gonna fall apart.
It could have been flimsy. Like the fishing rod has a telescoping rod action.
Yeah.
And they actually have designed it so when it telescopes, it locks in place.
It has these, a lot's been thought through. They have these latches that fold out once you insert things so that they are locked there. They can't go too far one direction or the other. But the process of building is led by an app. Now, we had seen footage of this, and it looked cool, but it's even cooler than I thought.
So it's a series of instructions, and I think anyone who designs instructions could take a cue from Nintendo.
You mentioned IKEA would be a perfect thing.
Lego would be perfect.
Yeah.
They're basically 3D computer models, CAD models, textured of the kits themselves that animate, and you can scrub back and forth, you can zoom in, you can manipulate the models on the Switch screen, and there are even parts that look like animations, like pre-recorded video.
It looks like you're starting a movie, but then it turns out you can reach out, touch, swipe around, and spin whatever you want to get any perspective that you need.
And I guess the idea is that it's going to make it as simple as possible for kids or adults to put together, but you could also jump ahead and just scroll real fast. We had no problem following instructions. No tape was required either, and they give you everything you need. Like you can build 2 RC cars and then customize them.
Right. Yeah, so the customization stuff, that's actually a separate purchase.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you can do whatever you want with your own crayons, but they do sell a separate box that comes with stickers and tape and things to make it look, officially Nintendo.
Now, what can you do after you've assembled them also surprised us. For example, the RC car kit, you attach these Joy-Cons to either side of them, and it lets you then manipulate these by the vibration of the rumble motors on here.
And what's cool is you can actually change the frequency so that if you can get it tuned in, you can dial in your RC car, because if you hit left on your touchpad and it goes left, you hit right, you hold them both down, it's supposed to go straight. But sometimes it'll curve, so you tweak your frequency a little bit just to get just the right amount of rumble to cause your car to go forward.
So it's tapping into the output of these Joy-Cons, the motors,
right,
but also then input as well for several of the builds, because you have accelerometers on here, so it knows the motion, the relative motion of these. And then also for one of the Joy-Cons, I believe it is the right one, there is an IR camera.
Yeah, an IR camera and emitter. So this was something I don't think that they had talked about before today, which in the RC car, you can actually hold up a little infrared tape reflector and it will follow it. So you can go left and right and the car will follow and try to keep your reflector in view.
Now we played Nintendo Switch titles like the 1-2 Switch that make use of this IR camera, and we were curious, like, how accurate is this camera and what does it see? Because it's supposed to detect relative distance, objects in black and white, and even in low light. But with this app in the Variety Pack and the RC car, you can actually get a view into the camera, which I thought was super cool. And it's pretty high fidelity.
Yeah, I mean, it's high enough. I mean, they make it look like a little night vision mode when you're in the car. And that's interesting. So you can go into this mode where you see that, but you can also go into a mode with the car, which gives you 2 sets of controls on the thing. So if you have 2 sets of Joy-Cons, they already give you enough cardboard to build 2 cars. You can now do a battle, essentially, and see who can tip each other over.
And its ability to recognize these IR reflections is essentially computer vision.
Yeah, absolutely, and it plays an important role in the piano.
That's right. We were able to look inside the piano. We have to build it, but the piano surprised us because every single key works. And the way it works is that this IR camera is looking at this row of keys. I think it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
13 keys.
Yeah, 13 keys. And it can tell when the keys are being depressed, every single one.
Yeah, I was really skeptical about this because when we saw the launch video, that was the one I was most curious about how they made that work. And would it recognize more than 1 key at a time? Yeah, any number of keys that you want to press. So basically, if this is the row of keys here, the camera is over here and it's watching the back of every key. And as the key raises, it can tell which key that is because it has these 2 little key markers on the side, and it knows what it's looking for.
Other inputs as well. There are knobs, like little control sticks you could put in and rotate.
Right.
And it can tell because there's that reflective tape on the around the edges.
Really
of
basic
that.
codes.
Yeah. It's recognizing, it's pretty high fidelity in terms of what it can recognize.
You take out a little thing on the top and it changes the instrument to a different instrument. There's a little pitch lever on the side. All of this made out of cardboard.
And then we also did the racing, like the motorbike racing.
So the racing is actually, I was impressed. In terms of the gameplay, this is one of the 2 that I felt like there was the actual depth here to the game that you could learn and iterate and get better at. We didn't build it, so I don't know how complicated the build is, but you basically hold your Switch like this. You have these handlebars, and you crank the right side for throttle. There's a brake trigger here. There's a start button here. And then you can steer, but you also use the accelerometer. So as you would on a motorcycle, the way that when you lean and steer, that's when you get your really fast turns.
I don't think it's as precise as, for example, just the thumbsticks in Mario Kart. And the game is much simpler than that.
And as of now, there's not even a competitive mode, so it's not like this is going to be the realm of the new competition.
You're going against AI, you have your multiple CCs, but it's not precision racing. It's more about the immersion of getting the physicality of turning your body and revving up the motorcycle. It's also cool that they built in a race course track builder.
I didn't even see that. So you used that a little bit?
Yeah, you load it up.
Do you use it on the touchpad?
You are still holding your cardboard and biking through and revving up, and as you traverse through the world and float through the world.
You lay track?
You lay track.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how do you go up and down?
You just lift up and lift down.
You
Yeah,
fly.
totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a house that you can build. This one is maybe the least interactive in terms of doing physical motions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a house that you construct. You put the switch on the side, and there are these holes on the sides and on the bottom, and there are these 3 different piece of mechanics that you attach to it. There's a crank, there's like a thing that turns, and there's a button. And all these, of course, made out of cardboard and rubber bands. And as you put these in, the scene on the switch changes. And it's a room with a character inside. And you put the knob on the side. Suddenly, on the screen in the room, there's a water faucet, and you turn it and water comes out and they start to float. If you put something on the other side, like a button, it changes to like a mineshaft game. And this is your start, and this is like your jump button. And it's like it's a discovery thing where you attach something on any of the 3 holes and you see what happens.
The surprise and delight there, what feels magical about that kind of experience, the seamless integration between real world, tangible cardboard objects and what you see on screen. Literally, when you are putting that knob in, things are changing in real time.
Right.
And that kind of seamless interaction between a thing that you built and something you're seeing on screen plays in full force in what I think is the best experience, the fishing experience.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Where you're holding this rod, and there is a string, and it happens, with a series of rubber bands, so you get a little bit of resistance. You're putting your Nintendo Switch console on the ground, and the string is falling down and perfectly aligned because it's mounted on this cardboard base with then an animated string on the screen.
So the string disappears into this virtual reality of the Switch screen almost seamlessly. And so when you wind your reel, when you reel it in, the string will go up and it will rise through the ocean depths until you reach the top of the ocean. If you let it out, it will go down to the ocean floor. And the deeper you go, the harder, more difficult fish there are to catch, such as sharks. Towards the top, there's much easier fish. But the deal is, it's like fishing, so that when you get a nibble, you feel it because you've got the haptic feedback there, and then you give it a yank and you reel it in, and then there's a game where you have to, once they start to blink or something, you have to let it back out, reel it back in again. So there's some mastery involved with that game.
Like, think about that. You're talking about 2 objects which are rotationally tracked, but then give you enough of the feedback and sensitivity that it can simulate something that feels real.
Yeah, I thought what was interesting about all these games is these Joy-Cons completely disappear. It's not like these are something that you're ever touching directly. They become a part of the contraption that you have just spent an hour building.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting part of the magic.
Yeah. And now on to the final thing, which is a separate kit. It's the robot kit. I think the one that many people had lots of questions about. We didn't get to build it, but you put on this cardboard backpack, essentially.
There's someone on hand to strap you in because it is all limbs are involved.
And then there's a calibration technique. You are pulling these cables that you hold onto your hand, and you have to make sure they're the right length. So everyone's have different length arms and different length legs. And it reminded me of like VR calibration for your height and where your body is, because it's in some sense a little bit of positional tracking.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, very much so. This is like real world Pacific Rim now. So every one of your limbs, your 2 arms, your 2 legs are connected to a string that goes into the backpack that, as far as we can tell, then attached to some weights. And there are these 4 levers in the back of the backpack. We saw it momentarily in the announcement video. And that's what controls all the things that you can do in the game. So you stomp and you walk forward, you do this number and you punch. But then if you crouch, you go into tank mode and now you're shooting lasers. If you're standing up and you're in robot mode and you do this, you start to fly. And you then can tilt your head like this in any direction and you fly in that direction, and then you let go and you stomp on the thing below you.
We gotta be clear, you're not running around your room the whole time. Your feet are relatively planted. So you're still looking at your TV screen where your Switch is plugged in at that point, but it felt interactive and immersive.
Don't forget the
visor.
The
you
visor.
flip down the visor, which has a Joy-Con, and because it detects that motion, then it puts on a HUD on the screen. Now you're in first-person mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think very clever. We don't know how much game there is there yet.
That's probably true of any of these experiences. It really is about the build and then the reward for using the build.
And then finally, the customization. One thing that we weren't able to film that they had teased is this idea of the Labo Garage, which is a series of, I guess it's programming built into the Switch. It's very basic input-output programming.
I would very much like to think that this is the Mario Maker, equivalent use case for Labo, but it does. I'm not sure how much can be done. We will see. But it basically will allow you to take any input from your Joy-Cons or the touchscreen itself.
Or the motions that are abstracted based on your cardboard build-outs.
That's true. So you can actually use the piano, and you can say whichever of the 13 keys has a different function. And then you can have whatever that input is, have a specific output. Maybe it's a sound, maybe it's a vibration, maybe you can make your own car. You can essentially remake the RC car experience by controlling how much vibration there is by how much rotation there is with like the motorcycle controller or something like that. So it certainly seems like there could be some interesting chain of events that you could create, maybe especially if you involve some other things, maybe making a Rube Goldberg style contraption that uses these the programming language that they're including with the Labo. Could be cool.
I would love for at some point Nintendo to allow users to tap more into the computer vision of that IR camera, to design your series of arrangements if the camera then sees something you build with certain reflectors.
That's
an
a great
arrangement
idea.
of reflectors. Because the whole idea of Labo is that in addition to the 4 buttons and these thumbsticks of your controller and a touchscreen now, you have way more potential for input based on motion and based on your IR sensor camera and the computer vision it sees.
It does expand what this is capable of natively into something that is much more variable. I mean, you could have, who knows, maybe more than 13 markers, I'm not sure. But you're right, if you could train it, if you could create a scene of IR and have it learn and then say, I want that to have this effect, that really is kind of,
that's the pipe dream. That's real making.
That is a lot.
Yeah, maybe not this year, maybe later, but a very promising start. It, of course, comes out in just a couple months. We'll be picking it up to do the full builds of all the kits in-house.
They're also going to be at Maker Faire. So right after it comes out, a couple of weeks later, they're going to be right here at Maker Faire. So I think they're going to have a big presence. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a lot of attention there for this.
But the one that's going to intrigue me the most so far is the Variety Pack. I think that one, the Variety Kit, is, if I'm making a semi-informed purchase right now after having built 2 of them, that's the one I'd go for.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, there's 5 things you can build. It's also $10 cheaper. It's $70 instead of $80, and those are pretty high price points. So it's an investment, but it's I was really pleasantly impressed with the build quality, with the app that you use to build them. I think that this is it's going to be worth the dive.
And the kids loved it too.
My son did, and so did Kishore's son.
Yeah. So the kids liked it, we liked it. Even little kids, maybe worth checking out. We'll have more coverage on Nintendo Labo closer to its release and doing a full review. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.